So, I'm Lilium, and I suffer from mental illness. I'm currently 30 years old and still struggling. I wanted to give you an insight into depression, mood swings, and self-damaging behavior using my story. A story of frustration, of loneliness, of pain, but also a story of hope, of redemption, of salvation, and a story of recovery. It's very hard for me to say exactly when my mental illness started, but I know one thing, that I've always felt a lot different than other people. Even as a child, I was very aware that I wasn't like other kids. I didn't feel like them. Even if I interacted, had play dates, and joined in on school activities, I always felt like the odd one out. I always felt misplaced and empty. As the years went by, I graduated from preschool, went to college. It's where my illness started to flourish. I started having a really hard time trusting other people due to a trauma with an ex-boyfriend, a person who inflicted much harm upon me, a person who tore me in half, who tore my world up, and all of that happened in a split second. This experience changed me and changed who I was, how I perceived the world. It ruined my faith in other people. So as I went on to college, I couldn't form new relationships that were stable because I was not stable. On the outside, you would see a young girl, pretty face, doing really good in school, very intellectual. She would smile, she would laugh, and she would seem like she had it all together. But nothing could be further from the truth. The inside of me was like a storm picking up more and more by each day. I felt tormented by my own paranoia, by my own mistrust in other people, and my self-hatred grew more each day. As I developed an eating disorder, when I looked in the mirror, I thought I could control my emotions by controlling my body. And so I developed orthorexia, which is an eating disorder where you eat extremely healthy, very low fat, and you exercise to oblivion. Even after parties, when I got so drunk I couldn't stand up, the next day with the worst hangover ever, it would be my punishment for myself that I would have to complete a 10-kilometer run plus strength exercises. I would go to the gym every day for several hours, and I would get so skinny. Even my friends told me they were afraid they would break my back if they hugged me. Despite my mental illness picking up getting stronger, I somehow managed to graduate with really good grades. But shortly after, when I picked up a job to have a Sabbath year, I deteriorated rapidly. I started harming myself, not only with my eating disorder, but also I started tearing holes in my skin with needles. And I became addicted to cutting myself. It was like an unstoppable force that went hand in hand with alcohol. My eating disorder, where I would now both binge and purge, sometimes many times a day, drink heavily on the weekends, and cut myself. Those things became my way of coping with the chaos I felt inside of me, with the eternal emptiness that haunted me, that would never leave me alone. No matter what I did, I could not escape myself. I could never escape, no matter what I did. And that was the most frustrating thing of all. I since had a breakdown later in that year when I graduated from college. And I ended up getting treatment at a mental health facility. This mental health facility helped me so much, and I ended up in a group with a lot of other girls who suffered from the same symptoms that I did. I was severely depressed. I had mood swings. I could suddenly cry and have no idea why I would cry. I could suddenly have a crazy burst of energy and feel super inspired and almost godlike. Have endless amounts of inspiration and energy and be up for several days. And then I would crash. At the mental health facility, they diagnosed me with borderline personality disorder of emotional type. Suddenly, my world had a name. All of this craziness, it had a name. And for some reason, I felt like I was now free because I could deal with it. I could put it in a little box and I could look at it from the outside. I didn't always have to live it constantly because now it had a name and a face, so to speak. I didn't really know what I was supposed to do to handle it, how it had even originated, but I knew that I needed treatment. Time went by and I went to treatment for 4 months before being kicked out because my depression had gotten worse. I wasn't able to show up to the meetings anymore, and therefore I got kicked out. I threatened them and said if they kicked me out I was gonna kill myself. And they kicked me out. And I attempted suicide. After my suicide attempt, I was hospitalized for 2 weeks at a closed psychiatric ward, trying to figure out where to go from here. Trying to realize if I wanted to attempt again or if I wanted to fight. At this point, I was so tired of fighting. I didn't even bother getting out of bed anymore. Nothing interested me. This was very, very tough for my family to endure. Seeing their daughter in this state, it made them very unhappy. And I've left very deep scars on them from my years when I was very ill. Yet they stood by me and tried their best to make me happy and comfort me, checking up on me, but still fearing that I once again would snap. It was all up to me if I wanted to flee or fight, and this is where one of my strongest characteristics came to immense help. It's true, when I was a child, I always felt kind of like a lone wolf, alone with my thoughts and my perception of the world. But one thing was always stronger than that: my stubbornness and my defiance. I always wanted things to go my way, and nothing and no one was ever going to come in between me and my decisions. I realized I had become a victim in my own life, succumbed to the void inside me and let it try to devour me, to make me someone I'm not. Thus my other side kicked in. The little girl inside me stepped her foot down real hard and screamed no more. And I once again went back to intense therapy for my family, my friends, my loved ones, but most important and foremost, for myself. I wanted more than anything to get well again, to be able to have a happy and fulfilling life with great stable friendships, a loving and loyal life partner, a home, and a meaningful and rewarding career. I was sick of feeling like I didn't belong. I was sick of feeling helpless and depressed. And that was my turning point, where I started to grow as a human. Coming out from the safety of my misery to face myself and take responsibility for all emotions and actions was a milestone, because I'd never done that before. I'd blame other people for making me feel bad, causing me to behave recklessly, when in fact they were not the ones I needed to point the finger at. It was myself. After a total of over a decade of therapy, countless hours of conversations with dozens of therapists, psychiatrists, and mentors, ups and downs, happy and sad times, I could not only rise to my feet again, but I was reborn as a better, stronger, happier person. It has taken everything I've got to make it through, plus the loving support from my family and friends. It hasn't been easy, but I can honestly say it's been all worth it. My illness has ironically brought out the best sides in me and enhanced them, but only because I chose to face my own issues. I still struggle from time to time, and it can be hard not to fall back into my old ways. We're only human after all, and that's what we do when things get hard. We search back into the comfort of our former misery, even if it almost killed us. The familiar will always feel safer than our new way of thinking, and trust me, it will try to get you to come back, time and time again. That's why a strong network and therapy is absolutely crucial to recovery. You cannot do it alone, believe me, I've tried. You're dealing with something so powerful and overwhelming that it can crush even the toughest of individuals. Mental illnesses, especially depression, can strike anyone at any age or nationality and can be devastatingly crippling for the individual. Even the smallest tasks can become impossible to carry out, and the relations in life therefore vanish or are damaged, leaving a person even more isolated, worsening the illness. Depression can be effectively prevented and treated with the help of a therapist, and sometimes it involves taking antidepressant medication for a period of time. I'm very happy to be sponsored by BetterHelp for this video. They are an online counseling website where you can get more affordable counseling, and you don't have to leave your house, and you get paired up with a licensed therapist within 24 hours of creating an account. When you create an account, you'll go through a questionnaire, and the algorithm will match you with a therapist based on your answers. If you for any reason don't like the therapist that you were matched with, it's really easy to change. You can also choose specifications for your therapist. So if you want them to be female, LGBTQ friendly, religious, and so forth, BetterHelp goes to great length to find you a therapist you will be comfortable with and who will be best at understanding what you're going through. You can schedule as many counseling sessions as your therapist's schedule allows, and in between sessions you can text or email with them as often as you'd like. The plans start for as low as $35 a week. And please, if you're struggling, I highly suggest that you check out BetterHelp, and I'll leave a link to the site below. Also, if you are feeling suicidal, please contact a suicide hotline immediately. I'll also leave that link down for you below. Let's not be afraid to talk about depression or any other mental illness. Lifting the stigma will lead to more people getting help and recovering. Talking to someone you trust about how you feel can be the first step towards recovery. It at least was for me. I spent my whole life feeling alone. I always felt like the odd one out. Until I met other people whom I could talk to about what I felt, and until I finally met myself through others. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching this video, and take really good care of yourself. You're all that you've got.